What's up, world? Welcome back to the Big City Gardener YouTube channel. I'm your host, Timothy Hammond, the Big City Gardener. Here on this channel, it is my goal to help you just grow it. Today, we're going to talk about how to properly transplant your tomato seedlings. Now, if you don't know how to start your tomato seedlings, what you need to do is check out this video that I'll link right up here. If you remember from the last video where we talk about starting our tomato starts, we talk about starting them in seed cell starting trays, similar to this one. The reason being, they take a lot less soil to get started. So if you end up having some areas like these right here that don't germinate, you don't waste a 4-inch pot's worth of soil in this area. Less soil, less money spent. And that's one thing that's important about gardening. The goal is to have the most enjoyment we possibly can and grow the most produce possible. So let's get started talking about how you properly transplant your tomato seedlings.
How do you know when it's time to pot up your tomatoes? First, I like to look at the leaves. Once we have 2 to 3 sets of true leaves, in my opinion, it's time to move it up to a larger pot. Second, I want to check the roots at the bottom. If I see roots coming out of the bottom of the pot, that definitely means it's time to pot it up. The worst thing we can do is allow a plant to become root-bound. Now, what exactly does root-bound mean? Root-bound occurs whenever you leave a plant in a pot for too long. The roots aren't able to expand and extend out into the ground, and they end up circling themselves within the container. If you've ever gone to a nursery and bought a plant that's been on the shelf for a long time, you take it home and you take it out of the pot, you'll see those roots circling around the container and around the root ball. That's one thing you want to avoid whenever you're growing tomatoes. Root-bound plants are stressed plants. Stressed plants lead to pests and diseases, and that's something we definitely want to avoid if we want to have a thriving, efficient garden. Now, once I see those two things, it's time to pot up the next size. In this case, it happens to be a 4-inch pot. But had you started in a 4-inch pot, the next thing you would do is probably move to a 1-gallon pot. But that's one reason why I always start all of my seeds in small seed starting trays similar to this one. Not only do they use less medium, it means that I'm able to reuse all of these pots that you get from nurseries as the next size up. Now, let's talk about what we need to actually pot up our plants. First, the plants, of course. Second, the pots. Third, high quality organic soil. Always organic. Today we're going to be using this veggie and herb mix from Heirloom Soils. Make sure you're using local soil. Nothing beats local soil.
So once you have all your supplies, now it's time to get started. All we're gonna do, get some of that high quality organic potting soil. And now we're gonna remove the tomatoes from the cells, just like this. And now, here's a trick. Whenever you're potting up tomatoes, you wanna plant them as deeply as possible. And that's because tomatoes are able to root from their stem. So, bury your tomato as deep as possible. You'll notice I'm turning the stem upwards, so that way I can bury it even deeper. And now, backfill with your soil. I like to pot it up to where only the leaves are above the soil level, no stem is remaining. After you do this, set it to the side and repeat the process. Now, if you get to a cell like this one that has multiple plants, what you're able to do is to separate the plants. Now, while this looks painful, it's not. Gently tease the plants apart, and now you see we have 2 tomatoes. Follow the same process. Turn it sideways, bury it as deep as possible, and then backfill with our high quality organic soil. If you feel like you're gonna damage the plants or destroy them, then just stop. Plant both of them together, and when you go to plant them in your garden, you can train each plant to grow away from each other. Or you can wait till after you pot them up, the plants have developed a more robust root system, and then you can separate them before you plant them in the garden. Sometimes your hands just work better than shovels or containers. And that's how easy it is to pot up your tomato seedlings. Now, once you have them here, you're either gonna take them back inside underneath your grow light, or if you live in a warm climate, you can leave them outside and allow them to keep growing. Now, from this point, you're looking at 2 to 4 weeks before they're ready to go out into the garden. Why do I say 2 to 4 weeks? It depends on what's in your soil, it depends on the food that you're feeding your tomatoes, and it also depends on the strength of your grow lights. For more tips on how to just grow it, make sure you subscribe to the Big City Gardener YouTube page. And as always, don't be afraid to go outside, get your hands in the dirt, and just grow it. Until next time, peace.